Your clay credits are being wasted, and if you give me 5 minutes of your time, I'm going to show you exactly how to eliminate wasted clay credits in your GTM list building. I'm also going to show you how to make sure you're always referencing your entire list from your CRM, your do not contact list, everyone who's ever replied to you, all in one place without having to deal with 50K row limits and still using clay. So stick to the end, and I'm going to show you exactly how to do this. My name is Ben Reed, and I'm the founder of RevyOps, RevyOps.com. If you want to check us out, you can come over here. It's just RevyOps.com. We're going to log in a second. I'm going to show you how to do this in the actual platform. But before we do, let me walk you through the basic logic and the workflow of how you can eliminate wasted clay credits. So first is, I'm assuming if you're watching this, you're a GTM engineer, you are an owner of a GTM agency, you are a RevOps person or a sales marketing person who's trying to build lists and get better B2B data, but you are stuck with obviously getting screwed by clay, having 50K row limits and being slow and not being able to reference all your data. So what you're going to do here is, let's say you go to Apollo, you pull down a list or wherever you're pulling the data from, say Crunchbase or Wizza or wherever, and you're pulling it into clay. So what you're going to do is you're going to have your new scrape list, and within clay, you're going to want to reference the RevyOps database. So let's go over here into RevyOps. We're going to click up in the top right-hand corner, client login. This is going to take you to all your databases. Now, if you are just a standalone client, then obviously you're not going to have all of these different databases here. If you are an agency, you can have all of your client databases in one place, sourced and completely customized to your exact liking. As an example, I'm going to go ahead and add here, call this test client 1. I just stood up a fully managed database on the Google Cloud platform, and it can scale to the moon. It is backed by BigQuery, and we can load hundreds of millions of rows of data if we want to. Now that we've loaded this, you can see we have our different test accounts here. I'm going to go into a live account just so you can see what's going to happen here. Let's go into solid line media, and we're going to switch to the client account. As you can see here, we're loading the data. Now, assuming this data is the actual data that I want to reference within clay, I can. There's 94,000 rows of data here, and I'm going to show you how to connect to clay in a second. What I do here is, under my integrations, there's going to be this option called Clay Configure. You're going to click on that. It's going to show you the master API key. If you want to share your data with others, you also have a read-only API key. And then you're going to be able to also get all of your data out of the system and reference within Clay. All you're doing here is doing a get contact pull. And so you can see here's your endpoint. And you're going to come down here under the body, and you're going to copy this into your HTTP request within a column within clay. The bottom line is that because you have all of your data in RevyOps, you can now reference it. And because we don't have a 50K row limit, and because we have a wide open API and the rate limit is 1800 per second, you'll have no problem referencing the database. Let's go back over to the flowchart. So assuming you have your central do not contact list set up, and what does that mean? Central do not contact is all your clients, all your active deals, all the bounces, all the unsubscribes, all sourced from all your platforms. And it can be done automatically within RevyOps. This means that if you use, say, Instantly or SmartLead or Bison or Plus Vibe as your sequencers, and say HeyReach as your LinkedIn automation, you can have all of the data coming in from all these tools into one place. So if somebody sends a reply on an email, it will be marked as a reply within RevyOps. If there's a bounce, it will be marked as a bounce. If somebody unsubscribes, it will be marked as that. If somebody in, say, HubSpot, it gets marked as a one deal, or maybe a meeting was qualified, that will be marked within the contact activity record as contact status within RevyOps. So you have all of that in one place. Now, again, coming back here, you scraped a new list. What do? Now, you first want to see, does it already exist in your master database? For a single client, if you are a single client, or as an agency, you want to reference your client's data. So you're going to say within clay, does it exist? If it does exist, then you're going to go to the next step. If it doesn't exist, you're going to go to update new contact and database. And from there, you're going to be able to say, hey, it's not here. I'm going to go add it in there. Now, if you don't have it, we want to go enrich it within clay. You guys, if you know how to use clay and this matters to you, you'll probably know how to do some enrichment, some basic waterfall, get your emails, verify it through BounceBand or Million Verify, or go ahead and do some AI copy and send it off to your sequencer. I'm going to assume you know how to do that if you're watching this. If you don't, we can also support you there if you'd like. Now, let's assume that you do have some data that you already have pulled. Existing doesn't mean it's bad. It just means in prior web scrapes, because you probably have gone to market for a while now, unless you're just getting started, or the client you just took on as an agency is a brand new client, you're pulling a list for the first time. You want to see, does it exist as a do not contact? Now, because we track contact status, you're going to be able to reference that through the webhook that we just pulled. So that HTTP request, the one that we showed over here, is going to be able to be referenced in the clay column. So you're going to pull that down, and you're going to say, does it exist in the status? You can call your do not contact statuses whatever you want. If you want to have one status for client and one status for active deal, that's fine as well. Or you can have a generic do not contact label that you could reference. This is completely flexible. And one of the beautiful things about RevyOps is it's a completely flexible schema. That means that every single field or column that you want to label can completely match whatever files you already have within Clay or within your CSV files or within your CRM. It's completely up to you and customizable to you. And the best part is every database we stand up, if you're an agency, is completely unique to the client's data that is going to be used. So let's go on here. So let's assume that you find a list of data. Let's say it's 20,000 contacts. And let's just say that you've been doing this for a while. So only 5,000 are new. You're going to go load those new contacts into the master database. And then the rest are going to go through this filter of do not contact. If they're on the do not contact, I assume you don't want to contact them. So we're going to stop the Clay enrichment flow here. Boom, right off the bat, we just saved you a bunch of headache of VLOOKUPs in manual spreadsheets and CSV files and wherever else you're doing your do not contact currently, which will probably take you hours. We just did it in less than 10 seconds. Once you have your do not contact list looked at, you can go to the next step. If you're deep in a total addressable market, you're deep in list building, this means you're going back to the same contacts over and over again. Now, I'm assuming here there's going to be a time you're going to want to reuse the data you already have. Now, the beautiful part here is you don't have to go re-enrich all this data because you already have it. But the key thing is you might not want to send to them immediately, especially if it's a larger scale outbound campaign. We don't want to ruin your TAM, which we call TAM destruction over here. TAM, total addressable market, are the people obviously you're going after. And so we want to make sure here that you aren't sending to them too often. I'm sure you have your own rules. Maybe it's every 60 days, maybe it's every 90 days, maybe it's every 180 days. I don't really have a preference for you, but I'm letting you set your own preference. Within Clay, because we track all of the responses from the sequencers, the LinkedIn automations, even your phone call dialer, your CRM dialer, we can know when it was last contacted, the person that you're trying to reach. So you might have a rule that says, I never want to send another cold email or another LinkedIn DM until, say, 2 months after the first attempt or the first sequence or campaign went out. Maybe you did, say, 4 or 5 outbound outreaches for email, say 6 cold calls, and then maybe a couple LinkedIn DMs. Now you want it to cool off for 3 to 4 months. This is what I'm talking about. In RevyOps, we're going to track your last campaign date as an example. So you can see this over here. We're going to go back into our contact list so you can see it. And you'll see here, there's actually this thing called lead created date, but also first campaign email sent and then last campaign email sent. We can do the same thing for LinkedIn automation, cold calls, or whatever. But the point is that in our endpoint, in that integration that I showed you earlier for Clay, you'll be able to reference this from the same endpoint. That means you can set up a simple formula within Clay that says between the time that I first sent and the time that I last sent, what's the delta between that time? You can say, okay, there's been this time of say 90 days or 120 days, and perhaps you don't want to send anybody who is say less than 120 days. So then you can say, okay, we're going to end that if we are less than say 3 months. Now let's say that they haven't been messaged in over 3 months. Then you have another question. This is optional. You don't have to do this, but it is available to you if you want to do it because you now have the data. So what you can do is you can see when it was first added, that email. So when's the last time you actually loaded the email to the database? If it's older than a certain amount of time, that person's email may not be good. Or say the phone number, let's say it's a year or 2 old, you might want to go find a new cell phone record or a new direct line if it makes sense for you. Now you don't have to do this, but because you have the data, you can say, show me the delta between when we first pulled the data and how current that data is now. And if it's older than a certain amount of time, you can go ahead and push it back to your Clay table enrichment. If you know how to use Clay, you can either just do an add to table function, or you could do an HTTP webhook to move the data from one Clay table to another. If this seems too complex to you and you're just getting into Clay and you're just figuring this out, you can actually do this all in RevyOps just using CSV files. That's a whole nother video that we can talk about, but it's there for you. Also, if you don't want to create all these workflows manually in Clay, we have a fully built template out of the box with Clay that we can send you, and you can be up and running in about 10 to 15 minutes. Obviously, we can help you do this when you come on board with RevyOps. So if you want to do that, you can go sign up for the waitlist now. Now, once you are done checking all this information, you might still want to go and enrich that data. Once you enrich the data, you are back in business. You can push it back to your sequencers, your automations, your dialers, and you're back in business. The point is that every single time that you pull a list for your outbound campaigns, you can store that data and all the reply data and all the contact information and all the statuses all in one place so you never lose it. This is going to ensure you never over-enrich your contacts. You pull the same list too many times, or you're sending to people too often. It is a critical step in your GTM motion. So if you have any questions, you can go ahead and opt in on the website. I'm going to show you how to do that right here. You're going to come here, RevyOps.com. You can see it says Central Electric Lay Tables. I'm going to put in my email and I'm going to go ahead and opt in. Now, all you do is put in your first name, last name, all your normal information, and you'll log in. It's going to go ahead and send me a message. I will send you a calendar link and you'll be able to get right onto my calendar for a demo. We can talk to you about pricing. If you have any questions, there's pricing here on the website. You should definitely check out our reviews. We have great reviews, great client case studies from the top GTM experts in the world. For example, Leo here, he is from Beanstalk Consulting. He's a director of outbound for the company. And he said, RevyOps saved us a ton of money on list enrichment and countless hours on manual lookups. Also, Austin, he is the co-founder of Cold Emailers. He has a great video here that you can check out. He said, we use RevyOps as a central database for managing contacts across different clients, being able to utilize our client list and web scrape data, not having to rerun the same process for each client while having a central spot for all the data has been nothing but the best. Before RevyOps, I was operating in CSVs all over the place, and RevyOps centralizes all of that. Now I'm not even touching CSV lists. Today, Clay just pushes right to RevyOps. Data was the biggest bottleneck in our process. That's solved, and our clients get much cleaner data faster. We also have one from Nick, who is the co-founder of BuzzLead, another GTM cold email and lead generation agency. He has a great case study and review here that you should check out, see what he says on the website. Again, RevyOps.com. 10 out of 10, honestly, 20 out of 10 for the recommendation of what I would give Benjamin Reed and the RevyOps team. If you're running a lead generation agency, it's a no-brainer, must-have solution. We are a B2B lead generation agency. We've got over 20 active clients sending over 1 million cold emails every single month. One of the big aspects and challenges in our business is around data scraping, list building, and organization. We need a good system to be able to store all our data that integrates well with our email sequencers so that we have good reporting and analytics behind different campaigns that we've run with historical data. Certain things like BigQuery and other data management tools that I've tried have never been able to get me even close to having a system that was ideal and easy to manage. So working with RevyOps is just exciting. They understand the insides and outs of our business because they've done it for much longer than us and have a lot more experience. So if you want to get integrated with all of your different data sources, we're talking about everything from all of your different sequencers, like, again, sure you use Instantly or Bison, Email Bison, for example, or Smart Lead or Plus Vibe, or maybe you're doing outbound on Prosp or HeyReach or LinkedIn Helper, or maybe you're doing a dialer, maybe you're using one of the CRM's dialers. I love Close, for example, for my outbound dialing. Maybe you're doing intent signal-based stuff from Trigify, or you're pulling a lot of data from Apollo using Appify. Regardless of where the data is coming from, we can track it all into RevyOps. That's the whole point. It's a unified profile where all your data lives. Now, once you have it there, there's so much you can do. We do multivariate analysis, so you can see what campaigns are doing the best. We give you great dashboards to make sure that you can see your full funnel to see how it's working. As an example here, I could come in under my reporting, and within RevyOps, because you connect to all of your different data, we automatically can create these amazing dashboards where you can see total emails sent, total LinkedIn messages sent, total calls made, how many unique prospects were emailed in this example here, because this is an email campaign, what the reply percentage was. You can set your own benchmarks for what reply percentages are good if you have certain expectations for certain markets. And then you can even do ratio analysis by clicking on them, compare to campaigns together. And there's so many more dashboards, including email deliverability, where we can see all the replies by email, by inbox, and it allows you to then do multivariant analysis where you can go look and choose all the campaigns that matter, and you can choose the filters. Because we're a central database, you can filter down by subject line, by offer, by solution, by call to action. Whatever kind of data you are pushing into the system, you can access here and then query all of the list data as well as all of the campaign data all in one place. In addition, we have some crazy features coming out like signal tracking, and there's a very secret one coming out that we're going to announce soon, which I can't tell you, but if you get on a demo, I will tell you. So go ahead and go to the website. It's RevyOps.com. You can go ahead and speak to me directly. Get on with my team.